I never thought I'd end up here, forced into a marriage with a wolf alpha. My sisters and I are trapped in this dark cave, no choice but to obey. This blood-stained contract seals our fate, no way out for us. And there's our so-called husband, a cold wolf alpha who barely looks at us. He tossed me a warm pelt, like a scrap of pity for his new Luna. That simple act told me this was just the start of my troubles. My sister Evelyn held Lydia close, trying to keep us safe in this madness. I caught a flicker in his silver eyes. He knew something we didn't. I clenched my fists, furious at the life forced upon me. Then I saw it, a shadow with dragon wings circling the treetops outside. It wasn't here for a wedding gift, it was here for something far worse. Scott stood rigid, his wolf senses picking up the danger outside. Lydia trembled, clinging to Evelyn like she was our last hope. Evelyn grabbed a branch, ready to fight to protect us. In that moment, we all knew this forced marriage was the least of our problems. That winged shadow was just the first of the horrors to come. I wrapped the wolf pelt tight, trying to find warmth in this cold, dangerous world. Scott's wolf ears twitching, he could hear things we never could. Lydia hid behind Evelyn, too scared to even look outside. The shadow drew closer, and I knew our lives would never be the same again. But I wasn't going to give up without a fight. I'd survive this. Scott stepped in front of us. Maybe he wasn't as cold as he seemed. I thought this was my final night, chained in the Dark Dynasty's icy courtyard. One minute I fought for freedom, the next I was this feared king's prisoner. I tensed for a killing blow until he tossed me something I never expected. The dagger flashed, and my chains clattered to the cold stone at my feet. Not death, but rough bread. He called me his catalyst, bound by dark magic. That glowing red gem tied us together, some twisted, ancient magic at work. When our eyes locked, a strange jolt hit me, not fear, something I couldn't name. Confusion tangled with wariness. Who was this king, and what did he want with me? He gripped the gem, jaw tight, as if fighting an invisible force inside it. I bit into the dry bread, never letting my gaze leave this mysterious king. Before I could ask about our bond, loud footsteps echoed from the palace gates. Royal guards burst into the courtyard. They weren't here to protect me, that was clear. Gerard stepped in front of me instantly, shifting from mysterious to fiercely protective. His hand curled around his sword hilt, ready to fight his own men if he had to. Dozens of guards surrounded us, spears glinting in the moonlight like a forest of steel. My fists clenched tight, ready to fight, even though I had no chance against so many. Gerard shouted a command, his voice booming, and the guards hesitated for a split second. One guard stepped forward, pointing at me and yelling accusations I couldn't understand. The gem flared bright red, and we both felt a sharp, painful jolt at the same time. The guards lunged, and I knew this was just the start of my tangled fate here. Fear faded, replaced by stubborn resolve. I wouldn't die here, not like this. The courtyard echoed with shouts and clattering metal, a chaotic symphony of danger. Gerard drew his sword, the blade glinting like silver in the moonlight. A spear thrust toward him, and he dodged with the grace of a seasoned warrior. I grabbed a fallen dagger, ready to stand my ground beside this unexpected ally. I thought Gerard was using me until he stood between me and the dungeon guards. His mother's guards lunged, ready to drag me to the dark, damp dungeons. Queen Isolda's eyes glowed red, fueled by the cursed gem's dark power. Gerard drew his sword, his arm tensing as he prepared to fight his own mother's men. The air in the grand hall thickened, father against mother, all for a human like me. A guard's sword sliced his arm, blood spilled, and I froze in shock. He grabbed the cursed gem around his neck, and it flared with an eerie red light. Then I felt it fur sprouting on my wrist, the curse taking hold faster than ever. I stumbled back, staring at my changing skin. This wasn't supposed to happen this fast. Queen Isolda laughed, knowing her plan to turn me into a wolf was working. I didn't want to become a monster. Was this my fate now? Gerard stepped in front of me, the gem's light wrapping around us like a shield. The gem's dark magic pulsed, binding Gerard and me closer than ever before. Isolde ordered the guards to attack again. We were trapped with no way out. Gerard gripped his sword tighter. He wasn't going to let his mother take me. The tension snapped, fights broke out, and my transformation sped up even more. My fingers stretched, nails sharpening my human body was slipping away. Gerard took down a guard with one swing, keeping me safe in the chaos. Isolde screamed, the gem's light flaring brighter as her rage grew. I leaned against a pillar, helpless, as the curse turned me into something I didn't recognize. Gerard's eyes glowed red, matching the gem. He was fighting its power too. Fur started on my cheek too. I could feel myself changing, losing control. A guard charged me, but Gerard tackled him away before he could hurt me. The gem dimmed for a second, like it was fighting against both of us. Then Isolde pulled out a vial of glowing liquid. She was going to finish the curse fast. The curse was spreading fast. Black fur sprouted all over my wrist, out of my control. Gerard's eyes filled with panic as he grabbed a silk cloth from his pocket. Isolde stood at the gate, a glowing vial in her hand, smirking like she'd won. He wrapped my wrist tight, muttering about breaking the curse before it was too late. Then she tossed the vial to the ground, shattering it, and the curse flared even stronger. The fur spread faster, burning like fire under my skin. I thought I'd lose myself. Gerard's claws dug into his palm, his own eyes glowing red with rage. Isolde laughed, vanishing into the mist like she'd never been there. A howl echoed from the palace gates. Scott's pack had come to rescue me. I didn't know if I should be relieved or terrified. What would they think of me now? Gerard placed a hand on my shoulder, his voice steady. We'll face this together. The pack charged through the gates, swords drawn, ready to fight anyone in their way. Scott led them, his silver eyes blazing. He'd come for me, no matter what. I stared at my fur-covered wrist, wondering if I'd ever be human again. Gerard stepped in front of me, ready to fight his own kind to protect me. Scott froze when he saw my wrist, shock replacing his rage. The pack stopped too, the air thick with tension between werewolf and human, cursed and royal. Evelyn pushed through the crowd, her face filled with worry for her sister. I reached out to her, my fur glinting in the dawn light, hoping she'd still recognize me. But high above, Isolde watched, a new plan forming in her cruel mind. The pack growls grew louder, and I feared the fighting would start any second. Gerard held up a hand, shouting that we had a common enemy, Isolde. Scott lowered his sword, his expression conflicted. Could we really trust a royal? For a moment, the fighting stopped, and we all turned to the tower where Isolde hid. To my shock, the fur started to fade just a little, like the curse was weakening. I thought Scott's arrival meant freedom until his pack surrounded the king who saved me. The air reeked of wolf snarls and steel, every warrior ready to strike. Then I held up my wrist, proof of the curse that bound me to Gerard. Gerard stepped in front of me, claws bared, ready to fight his own kind. For a heartbeat, no one moved until a shadow appeared on the palace walls. Scott's fury faded to shock when he saw the fur on my wrist. His growl rumbled like thunder, a clear warning to Scott. Then Evelyn pushed through the pack, rushing to my side, fear in her eyes. But before anyone could speak, a cold voice cut through the air. It was Queen Isolde, Gerard's mother, and the one who started this curse. She drew her bow, the arrow aimed directly at my heart, ready to end me. Time seemed to stop as I stared at the sharp tip, waiting for the strike. No one moved, no one breathed. We were all frozen by her threat. Gerard's face twisted with pain. His own mother was trying to kill the woman he protected. I didn't feel fear. I felt anger at being trapped in this curse. Scott slowly lowered his sword. He saw the truth in my eyes. The pack followed his lead, but Isolde's arrow never wavered. She smiled, a cruel, cold grin. She knew she held all the power. Gerard stepped closer, his body a solid shield between me and the arrow. And then she released the string, sending the arrow straight for my heart. Time slowed, as the arrow flew straight for me, straight for death. But Gerard didn't hesitate. He jumped in front of me, taking the arrow to his shoulder. I thought Queen Isolde's arrow would pierce my heart until someone stepped in front. It was Gerard. He took the arrow straight to his shoulder, blood blooming through his armor. The cursed gem around his neck dimmed immediately, its red glow flickering out. Gerard staggered, then crumpled to the ground, his face pale with pain. Scott froze, then roared an order. His pack immediately lowered their swords. Jackson was already moving, pulling a vial of healing potion from his pack. I rushed to Gerard's side, Jackson shoving the potion into my hands without a word. The pale green liquid glowed faintly, promising a chance to save him. But above us, Queen Isolde laughed, a cold, cruel sound that echoed across the courtyard. Her red eyes glowed with triumph as she stepped back into the shadows. The courtyard fell silent, except for Gerard's ragged breathing and the distant howl of a wolf. Gerard's hand twitched, and he grabbed my wrist, his voice a hoarse whisper. He said the curse could only be broken by Scott's true mate, someone I'd never expected. Scott's eyes snapped to Lydia, who'd been hiding behind Evelyn this whole time. Lydia's eyes glowed faintly silver, just like Scott's, a sign I'd missed for too long. Evelyn stepped forward, placing a protective hand on Lydia's shoulder, her face grim. I looked back at Gerard, the potion still in my hand, knowing we had no time to waste. I poured the potion over his wound, watching as the blood slowed and his breathing steadied. Gerard's eyes fluttered open, and he gave me a faint, pained smile. But the quiet didn't last long. Howls echoed from the forest, and we knew the war was far from over. Scott's silver eyes blazed with resolve. We'd face whatever came next, together. We dragged Gerard back to the pack camp, his shoulder still bleeding through the bandages. Scott paced non-stop, muttering about the curse that had tied me to Gerard. Then I saw it. His sharp silver eyes only softened when they landed on Lydia. He didn't even notice he was leaning toward her, like a wolf to its moon. It hit me then. Lydia wasn't just our sister. She was Scott's true mate. Lydia seemed to feel it too, her hands twisting her dress like she was scared. Evelyn came over, pressing a cup of water into my hand. She saw it too. Gerard watched from his tent, his dark eyes flickering with something I couldn't name. Scott froze mid-step, his silver eyes sharpening. He'd heard something I hadn't. A rider burst through the trees, his horse skidding to a halt in the dirt. His hand shook as he held out a sealed letter, the wax stamped with a foreign crest. Scott ripped the letter from his hand, his jaw tightening with every word he read. Red Mountains has allied with Princess Lena. They're coming for me. Lydia stood up, her eyes glowing faint silver. For the first time, she didn't look scared. The pack sprang to life, grabbing swords and bows. We weren't going to let them take Scott. Gerard's hand closed around his dagger. He was going to fight with us. We locked eyes, and he nodded. For now, we were no longer enemies. Scott led the way to the gate, Lydia right beside him. Her fear was gone. A howl echoed from the woods. They were closer than we thought. I gripped my sword tight, ready to fight for my family, and for the mate I never asked for. I thought the worst was over until that rider came crashing in, screaming warnings. Red Mountains were teeming with Lena's forces, and they were coming for Scott. I could see the rage in Scott's eyes. This wasn't just a fight, this was war. Then Lydia stood up, and something in her shifted, something I'd never seen before. Her eyes glowed silver, not with fear, but with power. The true mate bond had awakened. That silver glow, this was the power of a true mate, finally awake. Evelyn grabbed her bow, ready to fight. We weren't going down without a fight. Scott shifted his claws, he was ready to defend his pack and his true mate. The pack rallied around them. We were one, and we would fight together. Lydia shifted into her wolf form, silver fur shining. She wasn't the scared girl we'd known anymore. Every muscle in her body was ready. She was no longer the victim, she was a fighter. Scott stood beside her, their powers merging. This was the bond we'd all heard of, finally real. We marched toward the border, ready to face whatever came our way. Gerard was still hurt from the arrow, but he was already reaching for his sword. He wouldn't let us fight alone, even with his shoulder still bleeding. He stood with us. His sword glinted in the firelight. We were no longer just a pack, we were an army. We moved through the forest, silent but ready. This was the battle that would decide everything. Lydia's ears perked up. She could hear them coming, closer than we thought. And there they were, Red Mountain's werewolves, ready to attack. The fight was about to begin. We were ready. But would it be enough? Scott let out a howl. This was our land, and we weren't giving it up. I pulled out the cursed red gem, betting everything on this risky gambit. Gerard was still bedridden, his shoulder wound far from healed. The moment he saw the gem, his tired eyes sharpened with resolve. He pushed himself up, ignoring the searing pain in his shoulder. Against all odds, he agreed to stand with us against Isolde and Lena. Jackson watched from the door, his hand never leaving his sword, distrust clear in his eyes. A silent truce passed between them, no words, just a nod of mutual understanding. I clutched the gem tighter, knowing our fragile alliance was our only hope. For the first time in days, there was a fragile calm in the infirmary. I stepped outside, seeing the pack already preparing for whatever came next. The wind picked up, rustling the trees like a warning of what was coming. Then we heard a long, menacing howl from the border woods. Jackson's face hardened, and he blew the pack horn to alert everyone. The horn's deep blast cut through the air, summoning every able fighter to the border. The pack moved as one, grabbing swords and rushing toward the growing threat. From the tree line, the Red Mountain's werewolves emerged, their red fur glinting in the sun. Their alpha, Frederick, stood at the front, his gaze full of bloodlust and rage. I gripped my sword tighter, ready to fight alongside this unlikely alliance. Gerard stood beside me, his sword drawn, ready to fight despite his wound. Two forces faced off, the air thick with tension. This was only the beginning of the fight. Lydia's eyes glowed silver, sensing the rage and bloodlust radiating from our enemies. Scott shifted to his half-wolf form beside her, claws ready for the first strike. The Red Mountain's wolves bared their sharp claws, some already stained with fresh blood. Evelyn drew her bow, aiming straight for the enemy alpha's heart. In that frozen moment, we all knew the next clash would decide everything for our packs. I never expected the Red Mountain's wolves to strike our border with such ferocity. Alpha Frederick led them, his snarls cutting through the chaos of battle. Princess Lena watched from the hills, her smirk colder than the winter wind. Gerard and Scott fought back to back, two leaders united against a common foe. The border turned into a bloodbath, every swing of a sword, a fight for survival. Lydia stepped forward, her silver eyes glowing with an ancient power I'd never seen before. Her howl shook the forest, a sound that cut through the curse, holding some wolves captive. Some of the Red Mountain's wolves froze, their eyes clearing as the curse's hold broke. Scott's eyes widened. He'd never seen a curse broken so completely by a human. Gerard seized the chance, cutting down a charging wolf before it could recover. Lena's smirk vanished, replaced by a rage that burned brighter than the battle fires. She pointed directly at Lydia, shouting orders to focus all attacks on the human girl. Dozens of wolves turned their snarls toward Lydia, and my heart dropped. But Scott moved faster, placing his body between Lydia and the charging wolves. Lydia's eyes flared brighter, ready to unleash another howl to turn the tide. Gerard joined him, two leaders fighting not just for their packs, but for Lydia too. Our pack members poured from the forest, turning the tide of the bloodbath. Lena screamed in frustration, her plan to weaken us falling apart. Lydia's howl rang out again, and more cursed wolves shook off their control. The battle turned, and the Red Mountain's wolves began to flee, their attack broken. Lydia looked at Scott, and I saw the bond between them grow stronger than ever. Gerard and Scott nodded at each other, a truce forged in blood and battle. But Lena's gaze promised revenge, a threat that hung over the quiet battlefield. As the sun set over the bloodied border, I knew this was only the first battle. I thought Lydia's howl would turn the tide until Lena ordered every wolf to target her. Scott didn't hesitate. He charged straight for her, ready to take the brunt of the attack. The wolf lunged for Lydia, but Scott took the bite straight to his leg. I heard his grunt of pain, blood soaked through his pants as he stumbled. He collapsed to the ground, and Lydia scrambled to help him as the wolves closed in. I gripped my sword tighter, ready to fight off every wolf that came near them. Then a roar cut through the chaos. Someone was charging from the forest. It was Micah, exiled from Red Mountains, and she was here for revenge against Frederick. She threw a dagger straight at him, wounding his arm as he roared in pain. Frederick snarled, turning his rage from us to this unexpected attacker. She declared her allegiance loud and clear. She was on our side now. We were all stunned. This enemy had just become our most powerful ally. Micah's eyes burned with determination. Frederick would pay for what he'd done to her father. The wolves hesitated, confused by their injured alpha and this sudden shift in power. Scott pushed himself up, his legs still bleeding, ready to fight alongside our new ally. Evelyn knocked an arrow, ready to take down any wolf that dared to attack us. The tide was finally turning. We had a real chance to win this fight now. Frederick realized he was outnumbered. Fear flashed across his face as he backed away. We weren't going to let him escape, not after everything he'd done to us. For the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. We might actually survive this. Just when we thought we'd lose, Mika stepped up and turned the tide completely. Frederick's forces broke and ran. We finally had the upper hand. But Lena wasn't done. She had a twisted trick up her sleeve. She slunk through the trees, targeting the cursed gem on Gerard's person. We were too busy catching our breath to see her closing in fast. Her vial glowed with a sickly red light. Something terrible was inside. With a flick of her wrist, she hurled it straight for Gerard's pocket. It hit the cursed gem dead on, and shattered on impact. A violent red shockwave erupted, throwing everyone off balance. I felt my bones shift, fur bursting through my skin. The curse was taking hold. I couldn't stop it. The gem's power forced me to shift against my will. Gerard collapsed to the ground, the gem's backlash draining his strength completely. He went limp, unconscious, as the gem's dark energy overwhelmed him. Lena didn't waste a second. She lunged for the gem in his pocket. Her fingers closed around the gem, its red glow flaring brighter in her grasp. Without a word, she turned and fled into the forest, the gem in her possession. Scott roared in fury, but she was already too far ahead to catch. I stood there, trapped in wolf form, unable to shift back to myself. We regrouped, battered and broken, as the reality of our loss set in. I stared at my wolf paws, terrified I'd be trapped like this forever. Lydia stepped close, her silver eyes glowing with a strange, calming light. She reached out to touch my arm, and I felt a faint warmth spread through me. Slowly, the fur began to recede. I was shifting back, bit by bit. Just then, Gerard's finger twitched. He was starting to wake up. Hope flickered in our group. Maybe we hadn't lost everything after all. The shockwave faded, and I clawed my way back to human form. Barely. Gerard stirred, his shoulder still bleeding, and his eyes locked on mine. The cursed gem hung at his neck faint, but thrumming with something new. He moved to me, slow, like he was afraid I'd shatter if he moved too fast. We were alone in the wreckage, but we weren't. Not anymore. When our hands touched, the gem flared red. A permanent bond, he said. We share power now, he told me. For better or worse. I ran my hand over my arm. No fur, no wolf. Just me. But nothing felt the same. What did this mean? Would I still turn on full moons? Would I lose myself? Before I could ask, Evelyn burst through the trees, a letter clutched in her hand. It's from Isolde, she panted. She's taken the King of Galdrish. The wax seal was Isolde's black, embossed with her crown. My blood ran cold. Hand over the cursed gem, it read, or the king dies before sundown. I crumpled the paper, rage coiling in my chest. She still held all the cards. Gerard's hand covered mine, steady. We don't play by her rules, he said. Evelyn added, she's holding him in the Dark Dynasty old palace. No one's seen him alive since. We stared toward the Dark Dynasty palace, distant and menacing through the trees. Gerard's hand closed around his dagger. We're not giving her the gem. We're taking the king back. I drew my sword, Evelyn knocked an arrow, and Gerard's dagger glinted. We were going to war, again. We marched into the woods, the gem's hum a constant reminder. This wasn't over, not even close. I thought we had a clear path to rescue the king until bad news hit like a wolf's bite. We'd agreed to storm Dark Dynasty. To free the captured king, our plan felt solid. Then a rider burst from the trees. His horse skidding his news was worse than we feared. Princess Lena and Queen Isolde had teamed up. They were waiting for us with an ambush. Two dangerous enemies working together? This just got a whole lot deadlier. Scott's silver eyes flared. He never backed down, but this fight was stacked against us. Gerard's jaw tightened. His own mother was now our enemy, and that hurt more than any sword. Lydia stepped forward, her silver eyes glowing. Her true mate power might be our secret weapon. Evelyn adjusted her bow, her fingers steady. She'd make every arrow count against our foes. Scott slammed his fist on the map, marking the palace. We'd turn their ambush against them. Gerard suited up in his battle armor. He was ready to face his mother and end this. Micah tested her sword, her gaze sharp. She'd already taken down one alpha, and she wasn't done. We gathered as a pack, our weapons ready. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a war. I gripped my sword tighter. We were walking into a trap, but we had no other choice. We mounted our horses. The forest growing darker around us. Night was falling, and so would the enemy. The cursed gem in Gerard's pocket glowed faintly. It still bound us, for better or worse. We rode into the forest, hooves thudding. Every step brought us closer to the trap. We'd turn against them. Scott's wolf senses were on high alert. He could smell danger lurking in the trees ahead. My sword glinted in the moonlight. Soon it would taste enemy blood, or ours. We vanished into the dark woods, our fates tied to a rescue that could cost us everything. We finally reached the Dark Dynasty palace, but something felt horribly wrong. Our group stood tense, ready for whatever darkness awaited inside. And then we saw him, the Galdrish king, bound and helpless in the courtyard. My blood boiled. How dare they treat a king like this? But the real threat watched from above, Isolde and Lena, who looked almost conflicted. Gerard stepped forward, pulling out the cursed gem that bound us. "Free the king," he shouted, "and I'll hand over the gem." But Isolde just laughed, a cold, cruel sound that made my blood run cold. "The king's already dead," she sneered. "Kill them all." The palace gates burst open, and a flood of guards charged straight for us. Scott snarled, shifting into his half-wolf form, ready to fight. Evelyn knocked an arrow, her hand steady as she aimed at the approaching guards. Lydia's eyes glowed silver, her true mate powers awakening to protect us. Mika charged first, her sword swinging with the fury of her lost pack. Gerard's rage boiled over, the gem glowing brighter with his fury. I glanced up at Lena. She looked like she wanted to help, but fear held her back. I looked back at the king. He was barely conscious, hanging limp on the pillar. The first guard's sword swung toward us, and I knew the fight had truly begun. I raised my sword, blocking the blow, and fought back with everything I had. The courtyard erupted into chaos, and I wondered if we'd ever escape alive. I thought we had the upper hand until Queen Isolde made her move. She lunged straight for Gerard, eyes glowing with mad hunger for the gem's power. Her fingers closed around the cursed gem, and its red glow blazed brighter than ever. She pulled back, and I watched in horror as the gem merged with her body. Her body stretched, bones cracking, her royal gown tearing at the seams. Her arm morphed, sharp black claws bursting through her skin. Tall, matted red fur sprouted across her body. She wasn't human anymore. Her paw slammed the ground, shattering stone and sending debris flying. Scott froze in shock while Evelyn knocked an arrow, ready to fight. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This monster was once Queen Isolde. Then I saw her, Lydia, stepping forward, her eyes already glowing silver. Her silver eyes blazed brighter. Her true mate power was waking up. Silver light wrapped around her, and I felt the power of a true mate's bond. Scott's face softened from shock to hope. He knew she was their only chance. The giant wolf lowered its head, jaws snapping inches from Lydia's face. But Lydia didn't flinch. She held her ground, staring the monster down. The entire battle stopped. We all watched, holding our breath. She raised her hand, a ball of silver light forming in her palm. The wolf lunged, and Lydia unleashed her true mate power. We had to hope it was enough. I gripped my sword tighter for the first time. I thought we might win. The wolf's red eyes blazed with rage. This wasn't over yet. Evelyn drew her bow, aiming straight for the wolf's glowing red eyes. Lydia's silver light exploded, covering the ground in a bright glowing mist. Scott began to shift, ready to stand beside his true mate in battle. I knew Lydia's true power would break free, and now her eyes glowed silver. That giant wolf seemed unbeatable until Lydia opened her mouth to howl. Her howl cut through the air, and I saw the giant wolf flinch. The monster that terrified us was actually cowering from her voice. Scott didn't hesitate. His wolf form began to emerge. His face shifted, fangs bared, and he joined Lydia's howl. Their howls merged, and the ground shook beneath us. The giant wolf stumbled, struggling to stay on its feet. Lena's face twisted with rage. She saw her plan falling apart. She grabbed her sword and charged straight for Lydia, ready to kill. But Lydia didn't flinch. Her silver eyes held unshakable resolve. Evelyn didn't let her get far. She drew her bow and aimed straight for Lena. Gerard drew his blade too. He wasn't letting Lena hurt anyone else. The giant wolf finally collapsed, too weak to keep fighting. Lena's sword was inches from Lydia's chest. She was so close. But Scott leaped in front of her, taking the blow himself. I charged at Lena, my sword swinging to knock her back. Lena stumbled back, shocked we'd stopped her so easily. Lydia placed a hand on Scott's back, their bond stronger than ever. We'd won this round, but Lena was gone, and I knew she'd be back. My hand tightened around my sword. We weren't safe yet. Gerard stared at the fallen wolf, his eyes full of conflict. I knew Lena's next strike was for Lydia, so I threw myself in the way. The blade bit into my arm, and hot blood spilled down my skin. The pain was searing, but I refused to let it make me move. Gerard didn't waste a second. He drove his dagger straight into the giant wolf's side. The wolf howled so loud, the ground shook, and Isolde started to slip free. Her power was gone. She looked just as weak and helpless as any human. She crumpled to the ground, her dark magic completely drained. Scott didn't let Lena escape. He charged at her before she could run. She struggled and screamed, but Scott's grip was like iron. He dragged her to the stone pillar, already planning how to bind her. The ropes bit into her skin, and finally, she stopped fighting. For a moment, everything was quiet, like the fight was finally over. But I knew better than to let my guard down so soon. Gerard stepped over, holding a vial of healing potion out to me. Our hands brushed, and I felt a strange warmth I couldn't explain. Lydia knelt beside Isolde, checking if she was still breathing. Her silver eyes glowed. She could feel that Isolde was still alive, barely. Scott stood guard over Lena, making sure she couldn't cause any more trouble. Lena glared at me, her eyes still full of that old greedy anger. We had won this battle. But I knew the war wasn't over yet. I thought Queen Isolde would fight to the end until she collapsed, weak and broken. She looked at me, and for the first time, she didn't seem like a monster. Her voice was a whisper. She just wanted me to be proud of her. I didn't know what to say. All my hate just melted away in that moment. Then she closed her eyes, and the courtyard fell into deathly silence. But the quiet didn't last long. Lena's cruel laugh cut through the night. We all turned to her, our guards up. We knew she had a terrible secret to share. She laughed harder, yelling that her father's army was already on the march. Scott's knuckles went white. He could feel the approaching danger in his bones. I gripped my sword tighter. We had no idea how big the army was, but we wouldn't back down. Gerard grabbed the cursed gem. Its glow was fading, just like our hope. Evelyn knocked an arrow, ready to silence her if only that could stop the army. "They'll destroy all of you," she cackled. "There's no way out of this." I stared back, my resolve hardening. We'd survived worse. We'd survive this too. The night seemed to stretch on forever. We knew the real fight was just beginning. Gerard's gaze shifted from grief to resolve. "We fight," he said, his voice steady. Scott shifted into his half-wolf form, his fur bristling. We were ready for war. The gem flickered to life in his hand. Maybe it wasn't done helping us yet. Evelyn adjusted her bow, her eyes locked on Lena. We weren't going down without a fight. A howl echoed from the woods. We tensed. Was it the army or something else? I thought we'd won, but Lena's father's army is marching straight for us. I stood with the others by the fire, desperate to find a way to stop them. Their route cut straight through the forbidden forest, our only chance to ambush. Micah slammed her fist down. She knew the forest like the back of her hand. Gerard stepped forward. His Dark Dynasty army would stand with us. But then, Evelyn went pale, her hands shaking as she held a letter. It was from the Galdrish Council. Something terrible was wrong. The royal seal told us everything. This wasn't just a battle anymore. Scott's silver eyes flared. He knew we had no choice but to fight. The fire cast long shadows. Our peace was about to shatter all over again. Mika's hand tightened on her sword. She was ready to finish what she started. Gerard laid out his own map. His army would flank the enemy in the mountains. Our plans aligned. We'd trap them in the forbidden forest at dusk. But Evelyn still wouldn't look up whatever the letter said. It was bad. The pack moved into action, sharp, silent, ready for war. I stared toward the forbidden forest this time. We wouldn't lose. Gerard and Scott shook hands, wolf and king, united at last. Evelyn's letter slipped to the ground, and I caught a glimpse of the words. I knelt to pick it up, and my blood ran cold at what it said. The whole camp went silent. Our worst fears were about to come true. It said Lena's father had captured my uncle. He'd kill him unless we handed over Scott. Scott's face twisted with rage. He wouldn't let anyone die for him. He grabbed his sword. He was ready to surrender himself. I stepped in front of him. We wouldn't trade one life for another. Gerard stepped forward. He had a better plan, one that would save everyone. I stared at the letter, cold dread coiling in my gut. Lena's father had my uncle, and he wanted Scott in exchange. My uncle, the man who raised me, was a hostage, and the price was Scott, our pack's alpha. I wanted to tear the letter to shreds. But we had no choice, or so I thought. Scott stepped forward, his silver eyes hard. I'll go alone. I won't let your uncle die. I watched him walk away, helpless, but then a hand on my shoulder stopped me. It was Gerard. We don't have to play his game, he said. We can rescue your uncle and take down Lena's father. He spread out a map, marking the forest where Lena's father had set camp. We can ambush them before the exchange. His plan was bold, risky, and perfect. We could save my uncle without sacrificing Scott. Before we could finalize the plan, a guard burst into camp, gasping for breath. Lena's father's army is already in the forest, he shouted. They're setting up camp as we speak. The time for planning was over. We had to move, now. Scott's silver eyes flashed, his claws extending. Let's go teach that king a lesson he won't forget. Gerard drew his dagger, his cold eyes blazing. For my new ally, and for the peace we'll build. We grabbed our weapons, forming a line. This wasn't just a rescue, this was a declaration. As we marched into the forest, I prayed we weren't too late, for my uncle, and for all of us. The forest felt alive with danger. Every rustle, every shadow. Could it be Lena's men? We moved silently, crouching behind trees. The camp was close. I could smell the smoke from their fires. My ears pricked up. I could hear voices, the clink of metal, and a faint, familiar cough. That was my uncle. Scott held up a hand, signaling us to stop. He pointed through the trees, and I saw it, their camp. There he was, my uncle, tied to a stake, and Lena's father stood beside him, sword in hand. The trap was set. He looked arrogant, confident. He thought he had us right where he wanted us. He was wrong. We tensed, ready to strike. One signal from Scott, and we'd charge. This was our chance to end this. Scott's claws tightened. I held my breath, waiting for the howl that would start the battle. I locked eyes with my uncle, giving him a small, reassuring nod. We're coming, I mouthed. Hold on. As the wind shifted, carrying the scent of our enemies, I knew this was it. The fight for my uncle, for our freedom, had begun. Our ambush plan was locked in until Micah saw something she couldn't let stand. We'd spent hours positioning ourselves, waiting for the right second to strike. But Lena's father had other plans. He was ready to execute my uncle right then. Mika snapped. She burst from the trees, sword raised, and charged straight for the guards. Chaos erupted instantly. The guards turned, and the fight we'd tried to avoid was here. Our plan was ruined. I grabbed my sword, we had to act fast. Scott shifted into his half-wolf form, we weren't letting Micah fight alone. Evelyn had her bow ready, picking off guards before they could reach Micah. My uncle didn't wait, he fought to free himself from the ropes. Micah fought like a woman possessed, taking down guard after guard. I ran into the fray, sword swinging, cutting through anyone in my way. Scott tore through the guards, his half-wolf form unstoppable. Lena's father roared, charging straight for me, sword raised. I blocked his strike, the clash of our swords ringing through the camp. My uncle finally broke free, grabbing a fallen sword and joining the fight. Micah took down another guard, her sword finding its mark every time. Evelyn didn't miss her arrows, found their targets one after another. Scott threw a guard across the camp, his strength was terrifying. I landed a hit on his armor, cracking the metal. Lena's father realized he was outnumbered, he ordered his guards to retreat. Just when I thought we'd fall, my uncle broke free, snatching a sword to fight beside us. The camp erupted in chaos, our allies fought tooth and nail to hold our ground. Lena's father saw our strength growing and dragged her away, desperate to flee. We gave chase without hesitation, our boots pounding the forest dirt behind them. The forest swallowed us whole, trees blurring as we raced after our fleeing enemies. My uncle, once a coward, fought like a man possessed, cutting down foes left and right. Micah fought with a fire in her eyes, her sword singing through the air with every strike. Lena looked back over her shoulder, a mix of fear and regret in her eyes. Her father's grip was like iron, yanking her forward as we closed in. We were gaining fast, we wouldn't let them escape to plot against us again. Scott shifted into his wolf form, his silver eyes glowing with unyielding fury. Gerard fought with the grace of a king, his sword cutting through enemies like butter. I fought with every ounce of strength I had, determined to end this once and for all. The forest echoed with our shouts, the crunch of leaves under our feet loud in the silence. Lena and her father were almost out of sight, we had to catch them now. Then, a roar shook the forest, something massive stepped out from the trees. It was a giant bear, standing twice our height, its claws glinting in the sunlight. I froze, my sword dropping slightly. This wasn't part of the plan. Scott stepped forward, his wolf form growling at the bear, ready to fight. The bear blocked our path, standing between us and our fleeing enemies. Its claws were sharp enough to tear through steel, and it showed no sign of backing down. Gerard stood beside me, his sword raised, ready to face this new threat. Micah readied her sword, her face set in a determined grimace. Evelyn knocked an arrow, her eyes locked on the bear's weak points. We were trapped between a raging bear and our escaping enemies. The bear's eyes burned with rage, and it let out another deafening roar. We shared a look, we had to make a choice, and fast. Lena and her father watched from behind a tree, terrified of both us and the bear. My grip on my sword tightened, we couldn't let either escape. Our fate hung in the balance, the forest holding its breath as we prepared to strike. I thought the giant bear would kill us all until Lydia stepped forward. Her silver eyes blazed and the beast suddenly froze mid-attack. It lowered its massive head, as if bowing to her power. She walked toward it, and the giant bear settled quietly at her feet. We all exhaled, thinking the worst was finally over. But I was wrong, a shadow moved in the trees behind us. It was Lena's father, his eyes burning with hatred for our pack. His arrow was aimed straight at Scott's heart, no time to dodge. Gerard moved faster than lightning, throwing himself between Scott and the arrow. The arrow pierced his chest, and a sickening crack echoed through the forest. He crumpled to the ground, his royal battle armor soaking with blood. I screamed, sprinting to his side as his breath grew shallow. His cold hand wrapped around mine, his voice barely a whisper. Lydia's silver eyes flared brighter, ready to use her healing power. Micah stepped in front of the king, her sword ready to strike. Scott shifted into his half-wolf form, rage burning in his silver eyes. He pinned the king to the ground, growling so loud the trees shook. As we took control, I noticed something glowing around Gerard's neck. The cursed gem glowed red, spreading a faint light over his bleeding wound. Against all odds, his wound began to heal. The gem was saving him. The king stared in shock, realizing his victory had slipped away. I glared at him, ready to make him pay for what he'd done. But first we had to get Gerard to safety and figure out what the gem's new power meant. I thought Gerard was done for, until that cursed gem on his chest started to glow. I scrambled to his side, pressing my hands to the wound, praying for a miracle. The gem wasn't just glowing, it was pushing the arrow right out of his chest. The clatter of that arrow hitting the ground still rings in my ears. Then his eyes flared red. Something in him had shifted, and I didn't know if it was good or bad. Before we could react, a giant bear burst from the trees, heading straight for Lena's father. He didn't stand a chance. One swipe sent him flying into a tree trunk. Lena didn't hesitate. She turned and ran, vanishing into the woods without a second glance. Scott was on him in an instant, pinning the struggling man to the ground. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding for now. The immediate danger was over. Gerard's eyes stayed red, like that gem had unlocked something dark and powerful in him. I watched him, wondering if this new power made him an ally or a bigger threat. The bear just sat down, like it had completed its job, no longer a threat to anyone. Scott tied him up tight, making sure he couldn't escape to cause more chaos. We gathered together, trying to wrap our heads around everything that just happened. I stared at Lena's footprints in the dirt. We hadn't seen the last of her, that much I knew. Gerard touched the gem on his chest, like he could feel its power thrumming beneath his skin. My hands still shook from the adrenaline, from the fear of losing Gerard minutes earlier. Scott narrowed his eyes at the bear, clearly wondering why it had helped us. Then I saw it, a shadow moving in the trees, watching us from the darkness. This wasn't over. Gerard's head snapped toward the shadow. His enhanced senses had picked up on it before we did. We all grabbed our weapons, tensing up, ready for whatever was about to come out of those trees. The bear stood up too, growling low, like it was warning us of something dangerous. I gripped my sword so tight, my knuckles turned white. Whatever was out there, we weren't ready for it. The shadow got closer, and a chill ran down my spine. Our fight was far from being finished. We finally made it back to the pack camp, victory tasting sweeter than ever. Everyone was in high spirits. Even my uncle was sharing old wild tales. He rambled about his rowdy youth, making everyone laugh till their sides hurt. Then I saw Gerard approaching, face serious, something clutched in his hand. I knew whatever he had to say would shatter this easy calm. He pulled out that cursed gem, the thing that bound our fates together. He said he'd destroy it, break the bond that tied us against our will. Before he could strike, I grabbed his wrist, stopping him cold. This bond isn't a curse anymore. It's part of who we are now. His hard gaze softened, and he slowly lowered his hand holding the gem. Just then, a rider burst from the trees, riding as fast as his horse could carry him. He skidded to a halt, chest heaving, panic clear on his face. He couldn't speak fast enough, his voice cracking with urgency. He held out a sealed letter, and my stomach dropped with dread. As I reached for it, I knew this letter would shatter our hard-won peace. Lena's been captured by rogue werewolves, I read, my voice going quiet. Lydia stepped forward, her silver eyes glowing, already ready to fight. Micah grabbed her sword, already preparing to head out into the woods. In an instant, the celebration was over, and we geared up for a new mission. Gerard squeezed my hand, and I knew we'd face whatever came together. Evelyn slung her bow over her shoulder, ready to ride out with us. We rode into the dark forest, the camp growing smaller behind us, a new fight ahead. Micah finally tracked the rogue werewolves to a cave in the Red Mountains. She said they're ex-Red Mountains members, exiled for their violence. Then Gerard pulled out the cursed gem, and it started glowing faintly. It was reacting to the dark magic coming from that cave. We knew we had to act fast. Those rogues were up to something dark. Evelyn checked her bow, ready for any threat we might face. Scott grabbed his sword, his silver eyes sharp with determination. Lydia's silver eyes glowed. Her true mate power was ready to help us. Micah was ready too, finally fighting for the right side. Lena was making amends, ready to fight alongside us. Gerard tucked the gem away, its faint glow still visible through his pocket. We set out into the mountains, the air thick with tension. The mountains were desolate, no sign of life except us. Every step felt heavy, like the mountain itself was watching us. Then we saw it, the dark mouth of the cave, hidden in the rock. The rock around it felt wrong, like it was tainted by dark magic. And then we heard it, a low guttural howl from deep inside. Scott's silver eyes widened. He knew that howl wasn't natural. Lydia's eyes glowed brighter. She could feel the dark magic inside. We tensed, our hands on our weapons, ready to face whatever was inside. My grip on my sword tightened, ready to fight for our lives. The gem in Gerard's pocket glowed again, reacting to the magic inside. Micah looked ready to finish what she started with the Red Mountains. Evelyn knocked an arrow, ready to take down any threat that came out. We stepped into the dark, ready to face the ritual those rogues were performing. We burst into the cave, blades ready to stop Lena's dark ritual once and for all. There she was, tied to the altar, the cursed gem glowing above her like a blood-red moon. The rogue werewolves stopped chanting. Their snarls told us this was a trap we walked into. Gerard lunged for the gem, ready to drain its power and break her hold on us. The gem dimmed in his grasp. We thought we'd won, until Lena's laugh cut through the silence. Lena's ropes snapped like twigs. Her smile told us we'd fallen right into her plan. I stood there, frozen, as she laughed and revealed this was all her sick trap from the start. Rage boiled in my veins. We'd trusted her lies, and now we were cornered. Scott shifted into his half-wolf form, growling we were trapped. but we weren't going down without a fight. The wolves closed in around us. Lena's grin told us this was just the beginning of her cruel game. Micah drew her sword, her eyes burning with resolve. We were going to fight our way out, no matter what. Lydia's eyes glowed silver. Her true mate power was our only hope against Lena's dark magic. Evelyn knocked an arrow, her aim steady. She wouldn't let Lena's plan destroy everything we'd built. The gem flared to life again, red energy pulsing. Lena was about to unleash something terrible. Lena raised her hands, drinking in the gem's power. We knew we had seconds to stop her before it was too late. Gerard's hand glowed red, fighting back against the gem's power. He wouldn't let her take control of it again. We charged together, blades and magic flying. This was our last chance to end her reign of terror. Lena's smirk faded to shock. She didn't think we'd fight back this hard against her trap. Lydia's silver power struck the wolves, sending them flying. Her true mate gift was our secret weapon. We broke through the wolves, closing in on Lena. This was it, the moment we'd been fighting for. I thought Lena was defeated, but she pulled out a vial of glowing liquid. This can't be good. We were all caught off guard, no time to react to her sudden move. She hurled it straight at the cursed gem, our only hope to break the curse. The gem erupted with red light, a shockwave building faster than we could run. The shockwave hit us like a tidal wave. We all crashed to the ground, helpless. Lena was already moving, sprinting for the gem like a predator to its prey. She snatched it up, holding it high with a triumphant laugh. We'd lost everything. I stared at her, heart sinking. How could we recover from this? Then Lydia moved slowly, pushing herself up. Something different in her eyes. Her eyes began to glow silver. This was the true mate power Scott told us about. Scott looked up, his silver eyes widening. He knew what this meant. Lydia stepped forward, a powerful aura radiating from her. She was no longer the shy girl we knew. Lena's smile faded as she saw her. She knew this was a threat she couldn't ignore. Lydia held out her hand, and the gem in Lena's grasp began to tremble. The gem broke free from Lena's grip, flying straight toward Lydia's outstretched hand. When Lydia touched it, silver light exploded outward. This power could destroy the gem forever. The dark lines on the gem faded, its red glow dimming like a dying flame. We all scrambled to our feet, hope surging. We might actually win this. I stared at Lydia, amazed. This quiet girl was our final salvation. Lena stumbled back, fear in her eyes. Her plan had completely unraveled. Scott walked to Lydia, his eyes soft with love. Their true bond was unstoppable. Lydia held the gem high, ready to shatter it. This would end the curse once and for all. Cracks spread across the gem's surface. We were finally going to be free. It exploded into silver dust, raining down on us. The curse was gone forever. I thought we were done for, staring at that glowing cursed gem. But Lydia stepped forward. Her true mate power was our only hope. The moment our hands touched it, the gem blazed white, nothing like before. A shockwave exploded out, knocking everyone off balance. I hit the ground, waiting for the worst to happen. It shattered into fine white dust, like it never existed at all. Lena collapsed, her evil power draining right out of her. The rogue werewolves scattered, fleeing into the daylight like cowards. The chaos faded. But I still felt that strange pull in my chest. Gerard looked at me, and I could see he felt it too. We reached for each other, and that familiar jolt hit us both. A faint red spark flickered between our hands. The bond wasn't gone. I stared in shock, then felt a strange sense of relief. Even without the gem, we were still bound by something stronger. Scott and Lydia watched, quiet, like they knew this would happen. The gem's dust blew away, but our bond was here to stay. Lena lay there, powerless, no longer a threat to anyone. We gathered together, ready to leave this dark cave behind. But as we stepped into the light, I wondered, what does this bond mean for us? We finally did it. We won the war, and now we're back at the Blue Moon Pack camp. The camp's buzzing with celebration, but my uncle's already packing to head back to Galdrish. I thought he'd stay longer, but duty calls for him back home. I walk with him to the camp entrance, not ready to say goodbye just yet. He rides off, waving back, and I'm left standing there, missing him already. Just as I'm feeling down, Scott and Lydia step forward, holding hands. Everyone goes quiet, waiting for what they have to say, and it's better than I thought. Lydia's glowing. She says they're getting married, and the camp erupts in cheers. We dance, we laugh, and for a moment I forget all the chaos we've been through. But the fun doesn't last long. Micah's face turns serious, and she pulls out a letter. It's from the Red Mountains Council. They need her, and they're asking for a big favor. She hands it to me, and I read it. They want her to be their new alpha. I can't believe it. Her old pack, the one that exiled her, wants her back as their leader. Mika looks nervous, like she doesn't know if she should say yes or no. I put a hand on her shoulder. She's earned this, and she can rebuild her pack. She takes a deep breath, and I can tell she's made her choice. She's going back. The pack cheers again. This time for Micah. We'll all help her rebuild, no matter what. We stand together, knowing that even though we won the war, our work isn't over. The night goes on, and I realize this is what family looks like, even when we're apart. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but for now, I'm just happy to be here with my family. The fire crackles, and I think about all we've overcome, and all we still can. I walk to my tent, looking back at the camp, and I know we're ready for whatever comes next. Just as I'm about to go in, Gerard's hand rests on my shoulder. He's here, right beside me. We stand together, watching the camp, and I know, no matter what, we'll face it as one. This is just the beginning. Our story isn't over yet. I thought Mike had refused the offer, but she smiled, ready to rebuild her home. Scott stepped up, promising our pack's warriors to help her rebuild. And Gerard, he didn't hesitate, offering food and medicine from the Dark Dynasty. We all got to work, packing supplies to send north with Micah. We were just wrapping up when a rider burst through the trees, panic written all over his face. He rode hard, his horse frothing at the mouth, barely able to stay upright. Then he collapsed, tumbling off his horse, gasping for air like he'd run a marathon. Micah was first to reach him, yelling for someone to get water. Scott and I exchanged a look. We both knew this wasn't good news. He gasped out the words that made our blood run cold. North villages, attacked by werewolves. The whole camp went silent. Everyone froze, realizing the danger was closer than we thought. My hand tightened around my sword. Those weren't ordinary wolves, he said. They can't shift back to human form, trapped as monsters, attacking anything in their path. Scott's silver eyes widened. He knew what this meant. A curse, something ancient and dark. Gerard unrolled his map, marking the attacked villages. We had to act fast. The villages were clustered in the north, too many to protect alone. Micah grabbed her sword, ready to go. She said she owed it to her people to help. We gathered our forces, packing supplies and mounting up. The ride north would be long and dangerous. I stared north, my gut twisting. Whatever was out there, we'd face it together. As we rode out, the wind carried the sound of howls closer than we dared to think. The campfire flickered behind us, a last warm spot before the cold north. Staring at these village photos, my blood runs cold. Those weren't just attacks, they were massacres. None of us could look away. These weren't mindless beasts. Something was very wrong here. Then Lydia spoke, her silver eyes glowing. I could feel the pain in her voice, the connection she felt. Scott didn't waste a second. His bones cracked, his form shifting. We were heading north, no matter what. And Gerard? He brought the entire Dark Dynasty army. Our fragile alliance was now our greatest strength. Evelyn checked her bow, her grip firm. We were all ready. No one was staying behind. Mika tapped her sword, the wolf symbols glinting. She was ready to fight alongside us, finally at peace. Lydia told us more. She could hear their howls, their fear, their pain. This wasn't just a mission, it was a rescue. We marked the map, the red X burning into the leather. The cursed village was north, and we were heading there at dawn. Even the prince joined us, his revenge forgotten. He wanted to help, to make amends for his father's sins. Lena checked her arrows, her face tight with guilt. She was here to make up for all the harm she'd caused. We gathered at the camp edge, our forces united. For the first time, I truly believed we could win. My hand tightened around my sword, my knuckles white. I wasn't just fighting for villages, I was fighting for us. We set off at dawn, wolves and humans marching side by side. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Then Lydia froze, her ears twitching. She lifted her head, her eyes locking on the north. Scott stopped, his wolf nose twitching. He could smell them too, fear, rage, and something else, despair. The forest grew quiet again, then it hit us, a howl, long and broken, echoing through the trees. Gerard's jaw tightened, his eyes hard. He knew that sound too. This wasn't going to be easy. I looked north, my resolve hardening. Whatever was waiting for us, we were ready to face it together. We didn't hesitate. We picked up the pace, charging toward the sound, toward whatever waited in the dark. I thought we'd finally found peace, until the cursed wolves attacked the northern village. The village burned, people ran screaming, their homes reduced to ashes around us. Just when all hope seemed lost, Lydia stepped forward, her silver eyes glowing bright. She didn't wield a sword or shout commands, she just began to howl. To our shock, the violent wolves froze, their snarls fading to whimpers. One by one, they lowered their heads, their aggressive energy completely gone. The villagers peeked out from their hiding places, too scared to believe what they saw. But as the wolves calmed, I saw Lydia sway. Her strength was fading fast. She'd pushed her powers too far, draining every bit of energy to calm the beasts. With a soft gasp, she collapsed to the ground, the wolves immediately gathering around her. Her hand trembled in the dirt, her breathing shallow and weak. Scott didn't hesitate. He broke into a run, racing to her side. His face was tight with worry as he lifted her gently, careful not to hurt her. Gerard and I stood frozen, relieved. The wolves were calm, but terrified for Lydia. One of the wolves nuzzled her hand, a quiet, grateful gesture that shocked us all. The villagers slowly emerged, their fear replaced by cautious hope as they watched the wolves. For the first time since the attack, the village fell silent. No screams, no snarls, just quiet uncertainty. Lydia's eyes fluttered open, weak but still holding that familiar silver glow. We had to get her to safety, to find someone who could heal her overtaxed powers. As we left the village behind, I knew this wasn't the end, just a new chapter of our fight. I clutched the healing potion, my hands shaking. Lydia's life depended on this. Slowly, I poured it down her throat, praying for a sign of life. Then her eyes flickered open. She was alive, thank the moon. Outside, villagers brought food to the cursed wolves. They saw them as lost, not monsters. In that moment, I saw hope where I'd only seen despair before. Gerard's warm hand wrapped around mine. "I'm staying," he said. "We'll break this curse together." We stood together, ready to fight whatever darkness still lingered in these woods. Then a sharp rustle in the trees made my blood run cold. Someone was watching us. I spun around, catching a glimpse of a figure hiding behind the oak trees. They didn't move, just watched, like they were waiting for something. Lydia stepped outside, her eyes glowing faintly silver. "I can feel them," she whispered. Her true mate power stirred. She could sense the figure's intentions. The wolves crept closer, but the villagers didn't run. We were all in this together now. I gripped my sword, ready to defend this fragile piece we built. I walked toward the woods, Gerard right behind me. We had to know who was watching. On the ground, I found footprints too big for a human. Whoever this was, they weren't ordinary. Gerard knelt beside me. "This is no common traveler," he said, his voice low. "Who was this figure, and what did they want with us?" The answers felt just out of reach. Then the figure moved, darting deeper into the woods. We couldn't let them get away. We shared a look, then ran after them. Whatever lay ahead, we were ready to face it. Back at the village, Lydia watched us go, her powers humming. She'd keep the peace while we were gone. The villagers and wolves worked together, repairing homes. This was what we were fighting for. Then I spotted a scrap of fabric, royal crepe silk. This was connected to Lena's family somehow. We ran faster, the clue driving us on. Whoever this was, they were tied to our past enemies. Up ahead, a cave mouth loomed. The figure vanished inside. We were about to uncover the truth. I followed that shadow into the forest, my heart pounding with suspicion. Whoever it was, they moved slow, too slow, like they were hurt bad. When she turned around, I almost didn't believe it was Lena, looking broken. She pulled out a vial, said it could break the curse, that she wanted to make amends. Before I could answer, her legs gave out, she collapsed right there. I hoisted her over my back, we had to get her back to the village fast. Every step hurt, but I pushed on, she was trying to make things right. When we reached the village, the air felt wrong, like something was shifting. The villagers stared, they couldn't believe I was bringing Lena here, of all people. We laid her on a stretcher, and that's when we heard the howls. The cursed werewolves started howling, loud and raw, it sounded like agony. But then, their howls softened, like the curse was letting go, on its own. I watched as some of them started shifting back slowly, but it was happening. I rushed back to Lena. If this worked, she might finally find the peace she wanted. Her eyes fluttered open, and she smiled weak, but it was real. She mumbled something about making up for all the wrong she'd done. Outside, the village was changing, curse broken, hope finally taking root. I didn't know what came next, but for now, we'd won a small, fragile victory. We'd have to keep fighting, but this was a start for her, for all of us. As the sun set, I knew this wasn't the end, just the beginning of something new. One by one, the cursed werewolves shifted back to humans, their cries of joy echoing through the village. After months of fear and pain, we finally broke the curse that bound them. Lena decided to stay behind to help rebuild the village she once helped destroy. Scott and Lydia walked hand in hand, finally at peace after all the chaos. The village was still broken, but for the first time, we could see hope. Families torn apart by the curse were finally reunited, their joy was almost tangible. Lena worked alongside the villagers, proving she truly wanted to make amends. Scott had given Lydia a simple wolf clan ring, a symbol of their bond, now unshaken. Just as we started to relax, a rider burst into the village urgent, panicked. He carried a sealed royal letter, one that would pull us back into the chaos we just escaped. I stepped forward, already bracing for the worst news he had to deliver. His hands trembled as he handed over the letter, whatever it said. It was bad. Scott and Lydia crowded around me, all of us fearing what the letter would reveal. As I broke the seal, I could already feel the peace we found slipping away. The letter told of a war in the Eastern Kingdoms, one that needed our help to stop. They begged for our aid for the wolf pack, and the humans who had once been enemies. Scott's eyes flared with old fire, he was ready to fight, to protect the peace we'd built. We stood together, knowing we couldn't turn away, even if it meant leaving the peace we'd found. Lena grabbed her bow, ready to fight for the people she once harmed. I looked east, towards the war we didn't ask for, knowing our journey was far from over. We thought we'd finally found peace, until the map revealed 2 warring human kingdoms. They begged for our help to stop their bloodshed. But we had bigger problems looming. One king sent a message that made even our werewolf warriors tense up. Evelyn's tight grip on the envelope told me this was no ordinary request. The letter was a threat: surrender all werewolves or face war. It came from the most powerful king in the East, one who hated werewolves. Gerard's jaw tightened, he wouldn't let anyone threaten our people. Scott's claws started to show, he was ready to fight to protect our pack. When she unfolded the letter, every word felt like a punch to the gut. The king demanded we hand over every single werewolf in our lands. I wouldn't surrender our family, not now, not ever. Gerard stepped forward. He said we'd send diplomats to negotiate first. But his clenched fist told me he was ready for war if talks failed. Scott made it clear the Blue Moon Pack would stand ready to fight. Evelyn's eyes were full of worry, she knew what war would cost us. The map stared back at us, a reminder of how much we had to lose. Surrender all werewolves or I'll attack the Dark Dynasty, it read. Gerard and I locked eyes, we knew what we had to do. We wouldn't back down, we'd protect our people, no matter the cost. The door to the palace stood open. Our next battle was just beginning. Evelyn tucked the letter away, she'd spread the word to our allies. The sky outside was dark, just like the storm heading our way. Scott's got a bold plan, ambush the warmonger king's army in the eastern mountains. We're huddled in the camp, every one of us tense but ready to act. Lena stepped forward, she wants to make up for her past by fighting with us. Then Gerard spoke up, his Dark Dynasty army will join our ambush force. Our forces are combining, but I can feel this is just the start of trouble. Just then, Mika came galloping in, she had a letter from the other human king. The letter's royal seal was unbroken. This didn't look like a trick. Scott broke the seal, his face tightening as he started reading. The king agreed to peace, but only if we hand over the warmonger king. My jaw dropped, we couldn't just hand a king over like a prisoner. Gerard went quiet, thinking hard, he knew what this meant for our alliance. The camp erupted in arguments, some wanted peace at any cost, others refused. Lena argued we had no choice, war would kill far more innocent people. Scott was furious, this felt like a slap in the face to our principles. Micah cut in, she had a plan to capture the warmonger before we hand him over. The eastern mountains are perfect for traps, we can catch him before he reaches the border. Micah marked the spot we'd hit the warmonger's army first, then grab him. Our soldiers sharpen their blades, this ambush will be our most dangerous fight yet. Gerard and I talked alone, I can't shake the feeling this will go wrong. As night fell, we prepared to move, our fate now rests in the eastern mountains. Evelyn checked her arrows, she's ready to pick off the warmonger's guards from afar. The map's red marks show our trap will surround the warmonger on all sides. Jackson's organizing supplies will need every bit if this ambush drags on. The Dark Dynasty army arrived, our combined force is finally ready to strike. We're perched high in the eastern mountains, waiting to spring our trap on the warmongering king. My allies and I have waited weeks for this moment to strike. Lena's our secret weapon, she's lined up the perfect critical shot. Her target isn't the king, it's his prized, unbreakable warhorse. Her gaze never wavers, there's no way she misses this shot. With her bow fully drawn, she's ready to rewrite the battle. One small release, and the entire battlefield shifts. The arrow cuts through the air, faster than any eye can track. It streaks toward its mark, unstoppable and precise. The horse sees it coming, pure panic flashes in its eyes. It rears back with a scream, throwing all balance completely off. The king tumbles off, hitting the hard ground with a sickening thud. His entire army erupts into chaos. No one knows their next move. Soldiers shout and shove, desperate to escape the chaos. The once neat formation vanishes, replaced by total panic. The king lays stunned, his pride and authority shattered. It finally clicks for him. He walked straight into our trap. We stand tall, ready to finish what we set in motion. This is the moment we've trained for. The tide turns today. Scott's ready to lead the charge, his sword primed for battle. Gerard's got his dagger out, ready to fight by my side. I grip my sword tight, my heart pounding with fierce excitement. We charge down the mountain, ready to seize full control. The soldiers look up, raw terror etched on their faces. We charge down the mountains, swords raised, ready to end this war for good. I thought our numbers were too small, until a familiar banner appeared on the horizon. The prince I'd once fought had come to stand with us, his army at his back. Scott shifted into his half-wolf form, cutting through enemy lines like a storm. The tide turned in an instant. Our enemies began to break and run. Mika didn't hesitate. She went straight for the warmongering king. She tackled him to the ground, his pride shattered along with his army. Just as we thought it was over, a guard came sprinting toward us, panic in his eyes. I stepped forward, already dreading the news he carried. His words made my blood run cold. The king's son had escaped, and he wanted revenge. I stood there, staring at the chaos around us, knowing this wasn't truly over. Gerard placed a hand on my shoulder, his eyes full of understanding. He knew what this meant. Scott and Lydia joined us, their expressions just as grim as ours. Our soldiers began tending to the wounded, but no one felt like celebrating. Mika stared at the captured king, her face a mix of anger and relief. The prince approached his father, his voice cold as he spoke of justice. The king spat insults at his own son, refusing to admit defeat. We stood back, watching the tense exchange, knowing this was far from the end. Before we could decide what to do, another guard arrived, a letter in his hand. I took the letter, my fingers tightening around it as I read the words. It was worse than we thought. The prince had already rallied a small army. We gathered our forces, ready to chase the prince to his stronghold in the north. We finally tracked that vengeful prince to a northern castle, but something feels off. He sent a letter saying he wants a truce. After everything he's done, I don't buy it. The seal matches his family's crest, but the handwriting's shaky like he was forced to write it. This is a trap. Margaret and I will go alone, no sense risking more lives. The pack was furious, but Gerard wouldn't budge. We had to let them go. I squeezed his wrist, silently promising we'd get through this together, or so I thought. We rode at dawn, the forest quiet around us. Too quiet, in hindsight. The trees loomed over us, their branches creaking like old bones. I kept my hand on my sword. Gerard reined in his horse, his wolf senses flaring. He tilted his head, listening intently. Then, I heard it, a low, guttural howl. Not from our pack. This one was filled with malice. Our horses neighed, stamping the ground. The shadows between the trees seemed to shift on their own. Gerard drew his dagger, his eyes hardening. "It's a trap," he growled. "They've been waiting for us." I drew my sword too, back to back with him. We scanned the trees, waiting for the attack. A pair of glowing red eyes peeked from behind a tree. Not just any wolf, these were cursed. More of them stepped out until we were surrounded, dozens of cursed wolves all growling, ready to pounce. I gripped my sword tighter, my fear replaced by determination. We weren't going down without a fight. Gerard's eyes flared red too, his nails extending into sharp claws. His wolf side was rising to the surface. The pack howled in unison, then lunged. We raised our weapons, ready to meet them head-on. A wolf's claw slammed into my sword, sending sparks flying. The impact jolted my arm. We fought back to back, taking down wolves left and right. But they kept coming, endless, relentless, cursed. Then I spotted it, human banners flying from the castle. That prince had lied. He was behind this all along. I thought we'd found peace until we stepped into this cursed castle. The prince we spared? He waited for us, sword raised and ready to kill. His eyes burned with the same rage that started this war. I drew my sword, ready to defend everything we fought to build. We were trapped in cold stone walls, outnumbered with no escape route. Then a crash. Scott burst in, his battle armor glinting in torchlight. Right beside him, Lydia, her eyes glowing silver, ready to unleash her power. The prince's braveness vanished. He knew he was outmatched. We had him cornered, but a cold chill ran down my spine. That's when I saw it, a shadow moving in the hall's darkest corner. Queen Isolde. She wasn't dead. Her eyes still burned red with gem power. Her gown was stained with chaos, the cursed gem glowing at her neck. She smiled that cruel smile, the same one that started our nightmare. I stepped forward, sword steady, ready to end this once and for all. She cheated death once, but we wouldn't let her do it again. She raised her hand, and dark energy from the gem washed over us. Scott shifted to his half-wolf form, his growl shaking stone floors. Lydia's silver eyes blazed brighter, ready to protect us all. My grip on my sword tightened, knuckles white with this fight's weight. This wasn't just a fight, it was the final reckoning for all her chaos. The cursed gem flared red, casting evil glow over everything. The prince stumbled back, finally seeing the true monster before him. Evelyn raised her bow, arrow aimed straight at Isolde's heart. Gerard stepped beside me, ready to fight his mother's darkness. For the first time, we were united against the true evil that ruined us all. I thought Isolde was gone for good until she reappeared with that glowing vial. The vial shattered at her feet, and black smoke coiled upward like a living thing. A massive claw burst from the smoke, cracking the stone beneath its weight. Lydia stepped forward without hesitation, her silver eyes blazing with power I'd never seen before. The giant wolf fully emerged, howling so loud the walls shook, but Lydia didn't flinch. She let out a high-pitched howl, a sound that cut through the wolf's roar like a knife. The wolf's movements froze, then it slowly stopped howling, calming right before our eyes. Isolde's smug grin vanished, replaced by a snarl of pure, unbridled rage. She lunged before we could react, grabbing the warmonger's son by the throat in an instant. A dagger pressed to his throat, she'd found a new hostage to use against our fragile alliance. My sword felt heavy in my hand as I stared at that dagger pressed to his throat. Gerard stepped forward without hesitation, ready to trade himself for the prince's life. I grabbed his arm before he could take another step. We couldn't lose him too, not after everything. Lydia's silver eyes glowed again, trying to use her bond power to unsettle Isolde's focus. But Isolde resisted, her own eyes glowing red with the cursed gem's corrupting power. Scott tensed to shift and pounce, but Lydia held him back. We couldn't risk the prince's life. The prince's eyes went from fear to determination. He wasn't going to be a passive pawn anymore. He tried to twist free, catching Isolde off guard for a split second, our chance to act. That was our opening. Gerard and I lunged forward at the exact same time, but Isolde slashed out with her dagger, first cutting the prince's neck before we reached her. Gerard threw himself in the way, taking the next strike meant for the wounded prince. I pressed my sword to her throat before she could move again, ordering her to drop the dagger, now. Gerard was ready to sacrifice himself, but I had a better plan. Isolde held the prince hostage, demanding Gerard in exchange. Her dagger pressed to his throat, one wrong move, and he'd be dead. I stepped forward, my voice steady, as I made my offer. Instead of Gerard, I offered her the Warmonger King, the man who started everything. Isolde froze. She hadn't expected this twist to our deal. Gerard stared at me, relief mixing with disbelief in his eyes. The Warmonger King roared, furious at being traded like a worthless pawn. Isolde circled the king, weighing whether my offer was truly worth it. Finally, she nodded. The exchange was officially on. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. We might survive this. The Warmonger King was freed, his eyes burning with hatred for all of us. Isolde smiled, already imagining the power she'd gain with him. She turned and walked toward the castle, the Warmonger King in tow. As they left, the prince stared at us, his expression unreadable. The prince's rage faded, replaced by a resolve I didn't anticipate. He knelt before us, his voice clear as he spoke his unexpected request. He wanted to join us to learn how to be a leader worth following. I helped him to his feet, knowing we'd gained a valuable new ally. Our fight wasn't over, but with him by our side, we stood a far better chance. We had a new path ahead, and I was ready to walk it. It was supposed to be our victory celebration. We'd finally found peace, or so I thought. Gerard, Scott, Lydia, we were all together, finally letting our guards down. Gerard stepped forward, ready to speak about the peace we'd built. His voice was steady, but I could see the weight of his crown still hung heavy. He talked about unity, about how wolves and humans could live side by side. Then Scott and Lydia stepped forward, their hands clasped tight, smiles on their faces. They announced their wedding would be in a week, and the hall erupted in cheers. I felt my heart light up. We'd earned this moment of joy. Even Lena and the king's son were smiling, putting their past behind them. The stars shone bright over the castle, and I thought nothing could ruin this night. But then the sound of hooves shattered the quiet. Another rider, rushing toward us. He burst into the hall, his chest heaving, eyes wide with urgency. He held out a crumpled letter, his voice shaking as he spoke. "A southern village attacked by rogue werewolves," he gasped. Gerard's smile vanished, his face hardening with resolve. Scott shifted into his half-wolf form, his silver eyes glowing with fury. We grabbed our weapons, the celebration forgotten in an instant. Gerard squeezed my hand, his gaze telling me we'd face this together. We rode into the night, the moon guiding us toward the village in need. But I had a feeling this wasn't the last fight we'd have to face. Here we were, huddled around a map, staring at the village we had to save from werewolves. That southern village was under attack, and every second we wasted cost lives. Then the king's son stepped up. He wanted to fight, to learn to protect others. Lena spoke up too. She was ready to make up for all the harm she'd caused. Gerard promised the full force of the Dark Dynasty's army to back us up. Every red mark on that map felt like a cry for help we had to answer. We grabbed our weapons, ready to face whatever horrors waited in the south. We marched out of the castle, sun on our backs and a burning mission ahead. Behind us, the Dark Dynasty's army followed. We weren't fighting alone this time. Then it hit us, a howl from the south, loud and full of unbridled rage. That sound sent a chill down my spine. We knew exactly what we were facing. We shared a look, no more waiting. We had to get to that village fast. Gerard placed a hand on my shoulder. We were in this together, no matter what came next. Lena checked her bow, hands steady now. She was ready to make things right. We picked up our pace, every step bringing us closer to the fight we couldn't avoid. In the distance, we could see smoke rising from the village rooftops. I stared at that smoke, my resolve harder than ever. We had to save them all. We ran, our feet pounding the ground, every breath bringing us closer to the danger. Another howl echoed. Closer this time. We could see their dark shapes in the distance. With a battle cry, we charged whatever was coming. We were ready to face it head on. I led our team charging into the village, ready to take down the rogue werewolves. The village was in ruins, our enemies' growls echoing through the air. The king's son swung his sword with surprising skill, cutting through our foes. Lena's arrows found their marks perfectly, taking down werewolves one by one. The battle raged on, every one of us fighting with all our strength. Scott shifted into his half-wolf form, his eyes glowing with unyielding fury. He charged straight for the rogue leader, ready to end this once and for all. With one powerful strike, he took down the leader, turning the tide of the battle. The remaining werewolves fled, realizing they had lost the fight. We stood there, battered but victorious, the battle finally over. Then a little girl stepped out from behind a damaged house, holding wild flowers. She walked towards me slowly, her eyes filled with trust. She held out the flowers to me, a bright smile on her face. Taking the flowers, my tough, battle-hardened expression softened. "You're our heroes," she said, as villagers emerged to cheer for us. In the sunset, we stood with the villagers, hope filling the air. This small gift reminded me why we fought so hard. We shared a look, knowing we'd face whatever came next together. The flowers seemed to glow in the sunset, a symbol of our victory. As the sun set, we knew our journey was far from over. I never thought a small wildflower could feel like so much hope in this wreckage. Gerard and I had found our rhythm, helping this village heal, one flower at a time. Just as we settled in, familiar faces appeared on the horizon. It was Scott and Lydia, and they weren't empty-handed. A wedding. Scott and Lydia were finally tying the knot, and we were all invited. The invitation shimmered with Wolf Clan symbols. Our worlds would grow closer. Gerard's cold face softened for once. He looked genuinely happy for them. Even the little girl's eyes lit up. She'd never seen anything so fancy. Our joy was cut short. Another rider, urgent, broke through the trees. He wasn't here with good news. His face was tight with urgency. The letter bore the Dark Dynasty seal. Something was wrong back home. As I read the words, my smile faded. Riots had broken out in the capital. Gerard and I locked eyes. We had to go back, immediately. There was no time to waste. We packed our things, ready to ride at dawn. I hugged the little girl, promising we'd return once the capital was safe. Mounted on our horses, we turned toward the capital. Our wedding would have to wait. Scott vowed to send pack members to help restore capital order. Lydia's silver eyes glowed. She could feel chaos and fear miles away. As we rode away, we prayed we'd make it in time to save the capital. Dark clouds hung over the horizon, foreshadowing the storm ahead. We were leaving the village, but I had no clue what waited in the capital. Scott and Lydia swore they'd join us in the capital for their wedding soon. The little village girl pressed a tiny wildflower into my outstretched hand. Her warm smile made all the recent chaos feel like a distant dream. We rode off, ready to step into our roles as the Dark Dynasty's new rulers. Gerard squeezed my hand, promising we'd visit the pack again soon. I held that flower tight, like it was a piece of the peace we'd fought for. As the capital came into view, a tight knot formed in my stomach. We picked up speed, but the closer we got, the louder the shouts became. Gerard's jaw tightened. He could sense the chaos before we even saw it. The capital gates were swarming with rioting citizens. Our new home was in chaos. People screamed, threw debris, and raged. They hated the Dark Dynasty's rules. I froze. I'd never seen anything like this. How could we fix this? Gerard pushed through the crowd, shouting that he'd listen to their demands. But one man didn't care. He lifted a stone and hurled it right at Gerard. Gerard dodged just in time, but his guards immediately closed in to protect him. I sat there, helpless, holding that tiny wildflower like a lifeline. An old woman grabbed my horse's reins, her eyes begging for help. In that moment, I knew we couldn't just rule. We had to listen. We stood in the middle of the crowd and promised to hear every single one of their complaints. Slowly, the shouts died down. Some people even lowered their weapons. The wildflower was still in my hand, proof that peace might still be possible. Gerard and I begged the rioters to stand down, but the chaos just kept growing. People screamed. Shops burned. We were losing control of the city. One man lunged at us, his eyes full of rage and desperation. Gerard stepped in front of me, trying to shield me from the fury. I thought we'd never stop the chaos, until a familiar voice cut through the noise. It was Lena. She'd come to help, with a megaphone in hand. She climbed onto a pile of rubble and started speaking, her voice loud and clear. Slowly, the crowd quieted down. People stopped throwing things, stopped screaming. One by one, they listened. Anger faded into confusion, then hope. She promised we'd fix their homes, feed their children, make things right. Gerard and I shared a look. For the first time all day, I felt hope. The rioting stopped. People started helping each other, instead of fighting. But just as we breathed easy, a council member pushed through the crowd. He had a letter in his hand, his face grim with bad news. The letter was from a neighboring king, and it wasn't friendly. He threatened to attack our capital, unless we handed over half our food supplies. I couldn't believe it. After all this, we faced another threat. But Lena didn't flinch. She stood beside us, ready to fight for this city. And the crowd? They stood with us too, ready to defend their home. We wouldn't back down. We'd fight to protect our city and our people. I thought we'd have to hand over our food, until Lena had a brilliant plan. Her plan? Use the pack's farming skills to grow way more food for the capital. Some council members scoffed at first. Why trust a former enemy's idea? Then the doors burst open. Scott and Lydia arrived with a cart full of our pack's grain. The grain spoke louder than words, proof the pack's farming methods actually worked. Lena held up a sack, showing them how the pack's soil and seeds produced bigger harvests. Every sack bore our pack's mark, a promise of trust between our worlds. One by one, the council members stopped doubting. The grain didn't lie. The council leader finally spoke. We'll support your plan. Let's grow more food together. Cheers erupted. For the first time, humans and werewolves were working as one. I stood beside Gerard, my heart light. For once, peace felt possible. But just as we celebrated, the doors crashed open again. A messenger stumbled in. His face was white as a sheet, and I knew bad news was coming. He fell to his knees, holding a blood-stained letter. The neighboring kingdom, they're attacking the gates. The seal was broken, the letter smudged with blood. This wasn't a warning, it was an invasion. Gerard's face hardened, his hand resting on his sword. So much for peace. Scott's eyes flashed silver as he shifted half-wolf, ready to fight. Lydia stood beside him, her silver eyes glowing. Lena grabbed her bow, no longer a princess, just a fighter ready to make things right. Every person in that room stood up, human and werewolf, ready to defend the capital together. We ran for the palace gates, ready to face the army outside. But what would we find when we got there? We were pinned at the capital gates, the enemy army closing in fast. We thought we'd lost. The clash of steel echoed through the streets, our forces stretched thin and failing. Then the horizon shifted reinforcements, led by the king's son we'd once fought against. He charged toward the fray, his sword raised not against us, but our common foe. The tide turned in an instant, their forces crashing into the enemy's flank. Gerard's eyes sharpened. He saw a way to end this without more bloodshed. He stepped forward, unarmed, calling for parley over the chaos. The enemy leader hesitated, his men faltering at the sight of a king unafraid. He offered them food, an alliance, not surrender, and we held our breath. Silence fell across the battlefield as they considered our unexpected offer. To my shock, he agreed hunger had broken their will to keep fighting. Their ranks turned and marched away, leaving the gates quiet at long last. But the council wasn't done with us. They had a new, shocking request. One of their leaders stepped forward, his voice ringing out over the crowd. They wanted me once a captive, now to be their Dark Dynasty's queen. Gerard squeezed my hand, his gaze telling me he believed I could do this. The crowd erupted in cheers, their faith in us finally fully won. I took a deep breath. This wasn't the end, it was my new beginning. My family stood beside me, ready to face whatever came next. The sun set over the capital, casting light on the peace we'd fought so hard to build. I never thought I'd stand here as a queen, my heart racing with both fear and hope. Gerard stood beside me, and for the first time, I believed we could rule together. Scott and Lydia watched with warm smiles, their eyes full of genuine blessing. Even Lena and the prince were cheering. Who'd have thought we'd all stand here as allies? I squeezed Gerard's hand, feeling a calm I hadn't known in years. Scott squeezed Lydia's shoulder, their bond still strong and unbreakable. Lena looked at us with relief, finally free from her past mistakes. The crowd below waved and cheered, their joy impossible to ignore. But then I saw a rider galloping toward us, his face tight with urgency. He rode straight to the palace gates, holding a sealed letter in his hand. Gerard took the letter, his fingers brushing the royal seal. As he read, his smile faded, replaced by a look of deep concern. I stared at him, my heart sinking as I sensed the bad news. Scott noticed first, stepping forward to ask what was wrong. Gerard looked up, his voice heavy as he spoke the words we feared. Scott's hand clenched into a fist, his alpha instincts kicking in immediately. Lydia stood beside him, just as determined to face whatever came next. Lena stepped forward, her voice steady as she asked to join them. Our celebration was over, and the call to protect the pack had come once more. The prince nodded, ready to stand with Lena and fight for what was right. I squeezed Gerard's hand, knowing we had our own duty to fulfill here. Scott and the others turned to leave, ready to face the rogue wolves at the Blue Moon Pack. Gerard looked at me, his eyes full of determination and quiet love. I looked back at him, ready to rule by his side and protect our people. Scott and Lydia were leaving, and I could see sadness in his silver eyes. Just as I thought they'd leave alone, Lena and the prince stepped forward. We're coming with you. Those rogue wolves won't stand a chance against us. The prince had found his purpose, ready to fight for what's right. Gerard squeezed my hand, promising we'd visit once the capital was stable. I could feel his resolve through our intertwined fingers. I pulled Lydia into a tight hug, grateful for all we'd been through together. Scott's smile told me we'd always be family, no matter the distance. As they walked away, I knew they'd handle the rogue wolves with ease. The courtyard felt quiet without them, but we had important work to do. I turned to look at the capital, knowing our work was far from over. A council member approached, arms full of papers needing our urgent attention. Stacks of royal decrees and village requests waited for us to review. Gerard took the papers, his brow furrowing as he looked at me. We walked toward the council chamber, ready to face the challenges ahead. I squeezed his arm, letting him know I was right there beside him. The council chamber was bathed in sunlight, maps and plans spread across the table. The map was covered in marks showing villages that needed our help. Gerard spread out a map, pointing to areas needing the most work. As the sun shone down on us, I knew we'd build a better future together. As queen of the Dark Dynasty, I thought rebuilding would be my toughest challenge yet. Buried in blueprints and maps, we were focused on brick and mortar. Then, she appeared small, quiet, but unafraid of our royal court. She walked straight to our table, no fear in her bright eyes. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at this tiny girl with big ideas. She held a wildflower, like it was a royal scepter. I leaned in, suddenly more interested in her words than our plans. She pointed to our blueprints. We'd forgotten the children's spaces. Even Gerard, the stoic king, nodded. Her ideas made perfect sense. The court began to murmur. For the first time, we all agreed on something. I took her small hand, promising we'd build her dream playground. Her smile lit up the entire hall, brighter than any royal chandelier. Then the door slammed open, shattering our warm moment. A rider burst in, exhausted, carrying a letter that made my blood run cold. The royal seal was broken. This was no ordinary message. I took the letter, my smile fading as I saw the urgency in his eyes. As I unfolded it, my fingers shook. Bad news was written in every line. Gerard noticed my change. He knew something was wrong. The eastern village attacked by werewolves who couldn't shift back to human form. The room fell silent again. Our new challenge was far deadlier than bricks. I stood up, gripping the letter. We couldn't ignore their cry for help. Gerard stood too, his hand resting on his dagger. We were ready to fight. The little girl held my dress. She knew we were facing darkness again. The court rose as one. We had a village to save, and a curse to break. I couldn't let the eastern village fall. Gerard and I decided to go ourselves, no matter the risk. The council tried to stop us, warning of the cursed wolves' fury, but our minds were made up. Then she stepped forward, the little girl from the south. She wanted to come, to calm those wolves. Her courage shocked me. If a child dared this, how could we hold back? The council finally relented, supplying us with food and weapons. They'd guard the capital. We rode at dawn, the wind biting at our faces. Every step brought us closer to danger. I couldn't help staring at Gerard's sword. Would we even need to fight those cursed wolves? The journey was long and harsh. The mountains felt like they were closing in on us. Then I heard it, a howl, raw and feral. We were getting close to the village. The little girl didn't flinch. She held her flower tighter, ready to face the unknown. And then we saw it, the village, half burned, smoke curling into the sky. Chaos reigned. The cursed wolves were everywhere, tearing through homes, their eyes glowing with madness. Trapped villagers cried for help from behind barred doors. We had to act fast. I drew my sword, my hands steady. For those villagers, for the little girl, we couldn't fail. Gerard moved first, charging at the nearest wolf. The battle had begun. Then she ran toward the wolves, flower held high. I froze. What was she doing? To my shock, the wolf stopped. Its ears drooped, the madness fading from its eyes. That was our chance. I ran for the trapped villagers, swinging my sword to break the door. Slowly, more wolves calmed. Villagers poured out of their homes, tears of relief in their eyes. The little girl held out her flower. The wolf nuzzled it, as if remembering what kindness felt like. For a moment, there was peace. The wolves no longer threatened. The villagers no longer feared. But I couldn't shake the worry. Were there more cursed wolves hiding in the woods? What other dangers waited? I thought we were done for until that tiny girl stepped forward with a wildflower. Those cursed wolves had torn the village apart, and we were helpless to stop them. Every snarl made my blood run cold. They were beyond reason, beyond saving. Slowly, she walked toward them, that fragile flower held high like a shield. I held my breath, waiting for the worst to happen. But nothing did. One by one, their snarls faded. Those wild beasts, they were calming down. Who knew a wildflower could be more powerful than any sword? Gerard stepped forward, his voice steady. We'll stay. We'll break this curse. We couldn't just leave these people to rebuild alone, not after everything we'd been through. The villagers peeked out from their hiding places, hope slowly returning to their eyes. Just as we started planning, a rider came barreling toward us, kicking up dust. He skidded to a stop, gasping for air, and held out a sealed letter. My stomach dropped when I saw the royal seal. Bad news always came in sealed envelopes. Gerard broke the seal, scanned the words, and his eyes widened in surprise. He held out the letter to me, and my heart skipped a beat when I read it. Scott and Lydia's wedding was moved up, and they wanted us there, right away. Even the villagers cheered after all this chaos. A wedding was exactly what we needed. We couldn't miss it, not for anything. After everything we'd fought for, love deserved to be celebrated. The little girl pressed her wildflower into my hand, a small symbol of hope in this broken place. As we rode off toward the wedding, I knew this wasn't the end, just a new beginning. Against all odds, Gerard and I made it to Scott and Lydia's wedding right on time. The Blue Moon Pack camp was transformed, glowing with firelight and wolf wedding magic. Scott and Lydia stood at the altar, glowing like the moon itself on their big day. We pushed through the crowd, and everyone turned to greet us, old allies, new friends, all here to celebrate. For a moment, all the war and chaos felt like a distant memory. This was pure joy. Scott's silver eyes softened as he looked at Lydia. This was the calm he'd always deserved. Even Evelyn let her guard down, smiling beside Jackson for once. No duties, just happiness. Mika and Lena stood together, too, proof that even the broken could find their way back to light. The king's son watched quietly, finally at peace with his past. The little girl from the southern village even showed up, clutching a wildflower like a treasure. Lydia's wedding veil, stitched with wolf runes, glowed in the fire, her true mate bond finally honored. When they spoke their vows, even the wind seemed to hush, honoring their love. Scott's wedding tunic, etched with pack symbols, felt like a promise he'd protect his family always. When they kissed, the pack erupted in cheers, roars that echoed through the pines. Gerard pulled me into a dance, and for the first time in forever, I felt completely free. Food, drink, and laughter filled the air. We all needed this more than we knew. But our joy was short-lived. A rider burst from the woods, panic written all over his face. He held a sealed royal letter, his hands shaking as he reached Scott. Scott's smile dropped the second he read the words, our worst fears confirmed. The coast was under attack. An unknown enemy from the sea was storming our shores. Scott's silver eyes hardened, his alpha instincts kicking in, ready to defend our home. Gerard and I grabbed our weapons, celebration over, war mode engaged. Lydia's eyes flared silver, her true mate bond giving her the strength to fight. The pack assembled quickly, no questions, just loyalty, ready to face whatever came next. As we rode for the coast, I knew this wouldn't be the last fight, but together, we'd survive anything. The wedding bells had barely faded when a new threat crashed our celebration. Riders brought word something was coming from the sea, attacking the coast. Scott didn't panic. He unfurled his map, already planning an ambush. But Lydia stopped us. She could feel something wasn't right about these enemies. They weren't monsters driven by hate. They were just terrified, lost, and confused. There was no time to waste. We grabbed our weapons and prepared to move out. Gerard stood beside me, his royal battle armor glinting, sword ready in his hand. I wasn't the scared forced bride anymore. I was a fighter, ready to protect our home. Our small army assembled, and we began our march through the dark forest toward the coast. Lydia led the way, her silver eyes glowing as she focused on the feelings coming from the coast. The forest seemed to close around us, but we pushed on, guided by Lydia's senses. Her silver eyes flared brighter. She said their fear was growing, almost desperate. Scott adjusted our plan on the fly, shifting the ambush to a narrow, rocky beach. Gerard stayed close, his hand brushing mine every few steps. Our bond felt unbreakable in this light. When we reached the cliff edge, we could see the chaos below, shadows moving frantically on the shore. Scott held up a fist, signaling us to stay hidden and wait for his command. The moon's silver light wrapped around us like a cloak, filling me with strange, calm strength. We tensed, ready to charge down and face whatever waited below, terrified or not. Lydia stepped forward, whispering that they were just lost, confused creatures, not enemies to kill. We didn't charge to fight, we charged to understand, to help whatever was out there in the dark. As we ran, I realized this wasn't just a fight to protect us, it was a chance to help someone else. The path down was steep, but we didn't slow. Every step brought us closer to the truth. Gerard's hand tightened around mine, and I knew we'd face whatever came together. When we reached the beach, I froze. These weren't humans, weren't wolves, they were something else entirely. Scott lowered his sword, and Lydia stepped forward slowly, her hands held out to show we meant no harm.